Hi and welcome to How to Score Music for an Action Scene, Film Scoring for Beginners Episode 5. In the previous episode we talked about theme variations and how to transform a theme into different emotions. Today is all about action and I'm going to give you a few tips on how to approach scoring an action scene. How do you drive the scene forward? How do we propel the action? How do you keep the momentum up? Obviously there are a million ways to score a scene. I'm not an expert, but this is one way to approach scoring an action scene. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe, hit the like and that notification bell so that you get a notice as soon as I release new videos. My name is Mattias, let's take the tour. Right, so this is a small part from a film called The Bag of Bones that I scored about 8-9 years ago, I think. Firstly, let's play through this scene and then we will break down the workflow and talk about the sounds and approach to scoring the scene. Right, so that's the action cue here, and you can see that we have kind of two different cues in this scene. We first have a suspenseful cue, anticipation cue, which builds up into the actual action sequence and the action cue. Okay, so let's first talk about the tempo. You can press G on in Logic Pro to open up the tempo mapping here, and you can see that the first part, the suspenseful part here, is around 140 BPM. And then for the action sequence, we go down 2 BPMs to 130 BPM. And that is just to map up and make certain events fit to the cue here and to the specific bars of the cue. But of course you can experiment with the different tempos and maybe have a lower tempo and make it double tempo. But I think that for this scene I was tapping while watching the film and 138 and 140 BPMs was working very well with building the anticipation. Right, so the first part here, the suspenseful part, we are working with smaller sounds and smaller arrangement. We have instruments at lower volume because we want the action to really explode in the face of the audience here. And for this cue, for the suspense here, I was working with a few drones, which have volume automations, volume gatings, if you will. And we have some metals, strings, a bass pulse, and an acoustic arpeggiated preset from Omnisphere. So let's first solo this bell and see how that sounds. This is the first droning sound in the cue. Right, so the drone here is working in A minor. You can see that we have the A here, we have a C, D, and the E, which is goes up to the plus 5, the raised fifth, which is the F. And this is a very common notes that you work with when you want to build anticipation. And you can also hear that there's a rhythm in this sound. It's kind of... So that kind of helps to drive this momentum forward, because if we only had a droning sound, it would be a little bit less suspenseful. Right, and we also have a patch here from Alchemy, which is actually from my sound pack called Neptune for Logic Alchemy. You can check out that sound pack if you click in the description to this video. There's a link to my Neptune preset pack for Alchemy. So that's also a drone sound. We can listen to that in isolation and hear how that sounds. So that also helps to give some suspense into the cue. So if we listen to these drones together, it sounds like this. Right, so let's look at the metal sounds up here. I think it's from, the DM307, which is from Heaviosity. It's a quite nice drum plugin, so let's listen to that in isolation. You see that I have this volume automation going on many of these patches too, on the metals here and also on the strings. And the strings, I think, is from the first Albion package, Albion 1. Or the original, the older Albion package. So it's just a pair of violins playing an E. But we also have that C going up to a C sharp. And you can see the volume automation here, rising up to make it build to the climax. Right, and then we also have a bass pulse here, courtesy of the Retro Synth, which is one of the native synths in Logic. Same thing here. We are rising the volume here. And finally we have this acoustic arpeggiated preset from Omnisphere. Which is called Acoustic Chordmatic, which is a nylon guitar and a Trillion bass with the arpeggiator activated. Actually, this action marker should be over here. I somehow managed to move it. Right, so let's talk about the action part of this cue. And here we have more intense shifts, we have bigger sounds obviously, and we're working with a kind of question-answer thing happening here between the cellos, and then we have the percussion. So it's a kind of question-answer thing, and that helps to build dynamic and have a little bit of variation. And actually, if you don't have this breath and relief in your track, the big sounds will start to sound small, so you really have to have some parts with smaller sounds and some breathing parts in your arrangement to make room for then the exploding, bigger percussion. We need that contrast in the dynamics. Right, so the cellos here, the cellos are from East West Symphonic Orchestra. We have the spiccatos RR ×6 loaded. And we also have a doubling with the ostinatum low strings from Albion, also the spiccato. And they are basically playing this little line, this little line. A very, very simple little line. We have the E's here, going down a half step to D sharp or E flat. And then we have the G going up to G sharp and back to the G again. So you can hear that during this section we have the cellos and some percussion, and then we get some relief in the dynamics and make room for the percussion. And then we have the cellos coming back, some pause and relief, and then we have another set of cello lines coming in here. So we basically have the cello playing some E's here and a little bit of chromatics around E, and then we transpose up to the G. So that's a little bit what the cello is playing. Right, so let's talk a little bit about the percussion on the action part. First off, we have a break beat going on here. That's a loop from the DM307 from Heaviosity. A little loop there. Right, so besides the breakbeat here, we have these metallic sounds going on, which we also introduced in the suspenseful part of the cue. And that's a very good point on reusing some of the sounds you used previously in your cue, because that's make the whole score more coherent. It sounds like this. So that's also from DM307. And besides, we also have the Ape, which is apocalyptic percussion ensemble. And it sounds like this. So that's basically our rhythm here. Dum 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 dum. And that's what we are playing throughout this little percussive part. So we have the introduction with some snares here to introduce the real action. And we have a fun little effect here. And here we have a big hit, one of those boomer kind of sounds. And I'm using this kind of tape stop effect which you have in Logic. If you just select an audio track, an audio clip, you can go up here and open the region here and select, instead of the fade out, you can select the slowdown. So instead of a fade out, it will become a kind of tape stop effect. So that's our boomer, our boom hit there. And then we have a kind of relief part with some strings, and the strings sounds like this. So that's the string highs kind of effect here in the Albion package. And we also have some cinematic strings. Playing this chord, we have E the major third, which is the G sharp, and then we have the C, which is the +5. So that also gives you this suspenseful sound. And we also have some Albion strings doubling up here, the low strings. There are some really, really lovely low strings in the Albion package. And we also have a pulse sound there, the bass pulse from the retro synth again. And then we have this question answer with the cellos and the percussion. So. And also this shugging preset, which I called shugging, like guitar shugging, but it's a pad from Omnisphere with a little bit of tremolo. It sounds like this. So now we are switching up things a notch, so we have a downer going on, and we have some booms, and we also changed the cello part for this next section, which is kind of the B part of the action sequence. So that's some effects from the Damage package from Heaviosity. And we double that with this percussive loop. And I added some tremolo on this patch, on this loop, to give it a little bit more of a pulse feeling. To also mute a little bit of that reverb, because we have a lot of reverb in some of the other sounds. And then we have these lower boom sounds. And we also switch out that the metallic sounds that we had in the beginning. We now use another kind of tic-tac sound. Also to propel the action here and give it more movement and momentum in the higher register. So you can hear it, a very interesting rhythm in that sound, and that's actually a patch from the Albion package called Gope, which is controlled via the mod wheel to open up and make it more profound in the mix. You can hear it, the ending here. So that's full on. And we end this section with a reversed cymbal, just to end this part of the action cue. And you can also hear that we have the cellos going up here with a little string run at the end. Right, so that's one way of scoring an action scene. If you have any questions, please write them in the comment section below. If you're new to my channel, be sure to subscribe, hit the like and that notification bell so that you get a notice as soon as I release new videos. If you want to support my channel, you can go to my website, morningdewmedia.com, and buy some of the sound packs there. Or you can go and support me as a Patreon if you want to support these videos and the creations. You can go to patreon.com/Gelhain. All the information is in the video description. Now you can continue and watch my other episodes in the Film Scoring for Beginners series. My name is Mataz, see you in the next video. Bye!